Israel Gutierrez has taken his chair, and before we go on to our next issue here, dive in with your thoughts on the nicknames.
The name calling. Look, I think it's a matter of taste. I think if you're just going to go cover sports in just the X's and O's and just the numbers, it could get boring to some people. Maybe they need a context. Maybe they just need to be entertained, okay? Now, Skip is different than some of the rest of us in that he's bolder, not just now when he was on TV, he did it in print too, would write something, be in the locker room the next day and face that person. If you are bold enough to do that, by all means, feel free. And athletes who don't like it either should be able to discuss it with you or just have thicker skin in general. Because you know who has millions of derogatory nicknames? The President of the United States does, okay? And if you go on, Fox News, you're going to hear those all the time, okay? Does he care? No, because A, he's got a job to do, B, and everything. These athletes, highly compensated.
Yeah, but it's a difference.
If the only thing you can't deal with, I mean, not the only thing, but if you can't deal with somebody finding creative ways to describe how you're performing and entertain their readers and their viewers, which is their job,
right?
I think it's a minor part of what you guys should
have
do
to put up
or
with.
have to put.
We're using the president on down. There's a difference between if you're doing something and the president doesn't care versus does the president have to endure that experience, and is it right to make him endure that experience?
Well, what's your definition of enduring? Because Chris Bosh can turn off the TV.
Yes, he can.
Chris Bosh didn't have to show up here and discuss that.
Yes, but also Chris Bosh's family can't always turn off the TV. Just imagine if you're sitting there impromptu, and you're in your hotel room and you're trying to watch the game and you're trying to get a scouting report, watching SportsCenter or watching this show on someone you're playing. And then one thing to say, okay, I'm not playing well my field goal percentage supports that. One thing to say I can't shoot free throws, I understand that. But another thing to say, now you, the man who was named on your birth certificate, Chris Bosh, is now someone else of character just to support my entertainment and those fans that I have. You think that's fair?
Let me ask you this. It's all to me, it's all about how you respond to it. If it was 20 years ago and he called Michael Jordan Michelle Jordan, what would Michael do? He'd score 70 in the next game and say, "Shut up, dude."
No, I understand.
Exactly what would happen.
He wouldn't say, "Shut up, dude."
He wouldn't say anything.
He wouldn't have to say a word.
But you know what? We can't use all responses and group them together. It's still about the process of which you have to go through. The bullying, as we were talking about before, is another thing where you create this culture and climate that is unnecessary for the humans to go through that experience. Whether it's right or wrong, whether you're sensitive or not, whether you should, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words should never hurt me. We heard that growing up. But that's not true.
We're not doing a show for that athlete's family.
No.
We're doing a show for America.
And that's why journalistic integrity is on trial right now.
That's not on trial.
He could choose to not take the $15 million or whatever he makes to play for the Miami Heat. He could go live in obscurity. He could have stayed in Toronto, and we'd never talk about him on this show.
Journalism is
really, and that's his decisions in life because he doesn't want to be called out his name.
Who's to say he's not disgracing his family with his performance? Because there's one way to fix this, and that's to play up to your potential, which he mostly has, although sometimes I think this year, lately...
I don't know, because you're still calling LeBron James, who has the highest player efficiency rating of all time, better than Michael Jordan, having the best single season of any basketball player of all time, Prince James.
Well, why can't he just be wrong? Why can't he just be wrong?
He can be wrong, but there's no evidence to support
and there's time out. You mean... How many rings does this guy have?
No, I'm not saying that.
He's the king of what?
I'm not saying
He calls himself
I'm
King
not
James.
saying that about
He's
the rings. I'm saying you're still calling him outside his name.
On.
When you said his game should support you, be able to say...
What happened in the finals last year?
Marcellus,
what happened?
You talk about journalistic integrity, and that's being in question here. First of all, journalism has been changing ridiculously over the past decade or so. Okay, there are different gray areas. The integrity is a whole different conversation. But you're going to tell me if you go back, go back to the clever writers of early, baseball years. Guys had nicknames. They had insults for other people.
We talked about that.
It wasn't as visible as it is now.
You know why I know that this is an issue? Is because how you reacted when you were called outside your own name. I want you to respond to that.
I think that's a different...
We'll do that.
I think that's different.
We'll talk about that, guys.
Why is that different?
Got to squeeze in a break. We'll be right back with more of this heated discussion right after this quick commercial. Stay with us. More ESPN First Take to come. Back at the desk, Israel, you wanted to respond to Skip's reaction to Jalen's name.
Well, Marcellus just said that at the end of that last segment was, that the way Skip responded to the name calling was not positive, and that's how athletes would respond. That's not what happened there. What Jalen did is, you know, he, without full facts, tried to throw gotcha journalism onto the table and say, "Ha, Skip, I gotcha on this."
In what way?
And the 1.4 points a game or whatever, supposedly catching him in a lie, and then called him the name. Okay. I think if Jalen would have come up with a clever nickname for Skip in general and thrown it out there, Skip wouldn't have been like, "Oh man, that's embarrassing. This sucks." No, it was the entire act is what he was responding to.
Okay.
Because of what?
So,
the facts didn't support the nickname?
Exactly.
Well, in truth, they didn't, and I'll just throw this out there, and I hope I don't make you feel uncomfortable, Skip, but the Oklahoman did a piece today where they actually went and talked to some of Skip's old teammates.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And some of them said, look, if this guy transferred and played across town at our rival, he would have started and scored 18 a game.
When Skip does the name-calling thing, he's sitting
so the
there.
facts, in that case,
But
he's watching, well, when he does the
Okay.
name-calling thing, he's watching games, he's doing research, he's got the information.
yeah,
And frankly,
he
it's not
sees
my-
it with his
it's
own
not my
eyes. He's
thing.
not going on some report
Exactly.
and then calling
It's
it
not
out.
my thing.
All right.
I don't like doing name-calling myself, and you know, but that's Skip's thing.
But
I think it's fair. I just wouldn't do it.
Yeah, but I understand. But that puts him more into the boat with the athletes and former athletes in the sense of the plight of every athlete who didn't make it always ends like this. Well, I got injured. Or, you know, it was a problem or coach was tripping. Stuff of that nature. If I would have went somewhere else, I would have played for a different team, coach's son. And I'm not trying to say that those are not factual reasons, but every single guy that walks up to me on the street that used to be better than me in high school walks up to me with 3 of those same responses. So if you're an athlete of today, and whether we were talking about the Kwame Brown, I heard his name come up, those guys are looking at Skip Bayless or anyone else saying, how dare you, when I've persevered through all those different adversities and elements to get to where I'm at, even though I'm not great, relatively speaking, to other pros.
You think I love it when Stephen A. Smith calls me Skip Baseless, as he does at least 2 or 3 times every show that he's on?
But that's a softball.
Okay. Well, is it a softball? I mean, that's a pretty strong term. And you know what? I shame his nickname with my performance by out debating him.
Right.
Because that's what Chris should. That's what I told Chris. Just you can keep me from using the nickname with your performance.
And
right?
if these athletes that you talk about, those examples, if they've gone through everything that they've gone through to even get where they